All right, well, let's get going today. Welcome everybody. I hope everybody's doing well. Any feedback from last week on the Mike Tushman case? Jump in. Anybody have any thoughts? No?
I watched it afterwards. I couldn't join, but it was really interesting to hear the conversation and all the questions that were answered or asked. It was really interesting to watch.
Great. Another 2 hours to really make it kind of full circle to dive into it.
Yeah, and I apologize. I did a bad job of moderating because John, I saw you wanting to jump in and make some comments or ask a question. I just couldn't figure out how to get everybody coordinated. So if you guys have questions, make sure you either shoot them to me or shoot them to Mike. Mike would love to hear from you guys. I know he's teaching it this week, and so he'll be out. Would love to get that feedback from you guys. So
awesome. Terror of being in an HBS class and being afraid that he's going to call on you, though.
I know, right?
Flashbacks.
I know, right? I mean, that's the worst, right? I mean, you and I, Steve, both been subjects of case studies, and that's the most horrifying thing because you listen to everybody talk about you in the room, and then all of a sudden, you're going to get called on in the end, and it's scary, for sure, intimidating. Hey, let's just start off by going to Breakout today. What do you guys think? Should we do that? Okay. Brandon, take us away.
All right, here we go.
Fun?
Always.
I love it. I love this. Hey, Chris. How's it going, man?
Hey, John. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. Awesome. Well, welcome back. I hope that was great. Hey, Chris, I love your little name tag and stuff. That's, your background is Mike had that last week when he taught the case study. Any things that you've got going on? Don't want to put you on the spot, but I just thought give you a second to share with the group any kind of learnings or any kind of things you're working on.
So I missed Mike teaching the pixel case, and I'm sure it was fantastic just knowing Mike. The background is, I think, an example of process innovation, which is the HBS faculty realized they couldn't see the students' names at the bottom of the Zoom thing when they were teaching. And so now everyone has a name right next to their head.
Interesting.
So I have a couple of things going on that I'd be interested to share probably in one future meeting, but
great.
The main gist of this is I've been trying to study patterns of where remote work was happening prior to the pandemic. Mm-hmm. And some of the stuff there turns out to be pretty interesting. And just one sort of main headline result is that you might ask yourself, where in the US or where sort of in North America or the like, would you have expected remote workers to end up? And you might have said Salt Lake City or rural areas, which is what Chris just wrote, or Boulder, or nice places to live where you can hit the mountains or the beaches. So Florida or whatever. And your inclination there is partially right. So Boise, Idaho has just a ton of remote workers.
Wow.
But it also turns out that people in really expensive metro areas were working remotely prior to the pandemic. So there were actually a lot of remote workers in San Francisco. But that is mostly just generated by the occupational mix of who lives in what cities. And it turns out if you adjust for the occupational mix, it looks like you get this really interesting sort of trade across places where you can have people in Boise who are transplants from the Bay Area or transplants from other places to give them access to some local amenities. And once you adjust for the occupational mix, some of your expectations around people locating in rural areas or places with nice sort of amenities like mountains or beaches kind of come to fruition if you look at the data in terms of patterns of where people who were remote were locating before. I'll have a map for next week, which
great. That sounds good.
Exploits these things. But this has just gotten me sort of thinking about whether we will be able to, in the future, escape the major metro areas that have become congested. And that I think, if you look at surveys in terms of quality of life, many people who were sort of on the fringes of these metro areas that were driving and commuting into cities every day tended to report lower quality of life than they may have otherwise been able to realize if they were able to locate to other places that maybe had better access or sort of less congestion.
Great. Well, we look forward to that. That's awesome. Thanks, Chris. Hey, is Greta on? I know she was on holiday. I don't know if she made the call today, because I just wanted to see if any updates.
Could I ask a question, Chris?
Yeah.
No, I'm really interested in this notion of remote work. I think that, work-life balance has always been an issue, but did you see any relative return to a lot of these municipalities that are offering incentives? Like I think Tulsa was the one that comes to mind that offered like a $10,000 incentive to entice remote work. Did you see a correlation between localities that had that incentive in terms of the prevalence of remote work?
Not much, Brian. And in part, if you look at the data prior to the pandemic, it was like 5 or 6% of the labor force was in remote positions. And so picking up, I think Tulsa maybe had 100 people in that program. And so that program is just sort of a drop in the bucket relative to the size of the city. I think it's sort of an open question to see whether those programs would have scaled bigger, or if they would have sort of created the positive flywheel effect that would have brought in the next cohort into Tulsa afterward. But then I think the pandemic hit and we don't know. Yeah. But I know Vermont also had some programs to try and bring people up there in sort of a similar capacity.
I'd be curious if there was some sort of regression analysis to determine what are those effective mechanisms to encourage remote and digital nomadism. So I'm fascinated by the topic, so I'm interested to learn more. So
yeah, that's great.
Darren also just posted something about the Vermont program where he actually knows something about it, and I was kind of making something up.
Yeah, I was going to say, Brian, John O'Dween from Civil Actions, I'm good friends with him. He worked directly with Vermont to architect that program. So I'll reach out to him, see if we can't get him on a call. He could provide some amazing insights. He is very deep in the municipalities and incentivizing programs for remote well before COVID now made this popular. So he has some deep expertise there. Yeah, and just a note on the geographic distribution of remote workers, I do anticipate that changing more rapidly after COVID when you have entire families that can work remote. What we've seen at GitLab is if you look at the team map of where a lot of GitLab team members are, although we are all remote, most of the people are still relatively within range, commutable range of a major center. And if you ask them why, it's because their significant other has a co-located job that won't let them work remote. But the minute that changes, they're already thinking like, where can I re-architect my life? Where do I want to go? And the minute that changes, and I think COVID will accelerate that, you'll see people more quickly decouple their vocation and the geography.
Super cool.
There's data showing that the productivity bump, the causation happens when it goes from work from home to work from anywhere. That once the individual has the choice of where they're going to be, the quality of life goes up, the cost of living goes down, and you start extending things a whole lot deeper. So, Chris, I just made a note. It was Raj at Harvard's also doing work on this and has just been published and been recognized for some of the preliminary on it. We're going down a path of giving them all of the assignment data we have of workers around the world to try and see how patterns are shifting deeper now.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know Raj, Raj did an early study with the patent office to look to see when the patent office changed a policy for patent examiners to be able to work remotely. One, how that affected their productivity, and then two, where patent examiners ended up, because they moved from the DC metro area sort of all over the country.
That's super cool. Well, good, Chris. Well, we look forward to kind of hearing about that and kind of keeping track of that. And if anybody has any other info, like, Darren thanks and John thanks, Chris would probably love to get that stuff and, other contacts. So yeah, that's what I love about this group. We're kind of co-creating stuff together. All right, so talk about co-creating. I think we've landed on a name, but before I share the name, we've come up with a theme song and a theme video. So I gotta like share the theme song and theme video here. So I'm gonna share my screen. This is a little kitsch, but you know, what can you expect? So here we go. You guys ready? Here we go, here we go. Let's see, blow this out. Okay, here we go. Hope you can hear it. All right. So I kind of got everybody's input, and we're thinking about the naming the group the Center for the Transformation of Work. And now that we have a theme song, what I'm really excited about as well. Oh, wait, I got to stop that. Hold on a sec. I'll stop that. What I'm really excited about is there's actually a Wikipedia page with every transformer on it, so you guys can pick your name. All right, and you can come up with your own name. And I've decided for myself, I like Cliff Jumper. So that's who I'm going to be. You guys can call me Cliff Jumper. I'm going to actually change my name on these calls to Cliff Jumper. But check out the list. It's really fun. There's probably a couple hundred names here. Sunstreaker, Blue Streak, Tracks, Grapple, all kinds of fun stuff. So we can all have code names. So to me, that was one of the key things. Like I wanted to be able to have code names so we could go forward and have kind of a secret club with the name of the organization. So that's kind of where we've landed, the Center for the Transformation of Work. And now that we've got a theme song and have some fun with it, we can do all kinds of stuff. I'll make sure that
as an option I don't see couch potato as an option.
Couch potato. I think there's an ability to make your own, right? I just put in the link, the Wikipedia page, so you guys can check it out for yourself.
Excellent.
So awesome. So you can just call
John,
me Cliff Jumper from now on. What's that?
They're opening a whiskey hotel in Los Angeles. I think you're onto something. We should open a Transformer hotel.
I love it.
Head on.
That sounds good, man. That sounds really good. Cool. Well, cool. Hey, I'd love to just hear from everybody last time we talked, we were talking about last week starting to get the groups together. And I really appreciate a lot of folks have reached out and said they've got some momentum around, just starting to meet with their groups and talk. Let's just go through the list of folks and see what's up and just kind of call them out and see what's happening. Mark, Hana, you sent me an incredible deck on kind of the enterprise education and certification work stream. You want to just give us a quick update on what's happening there?
Yeah, sure. So we had a first meeting on Monday of this week. There was a couple of sort of administrative challenges, so I think perhaps Paul didn't get invited, but I shall make sure that we've got the technology and the calendars sorted. But we had a very constructive session. We've kind of identified two kind of key areas where there is some work going on over the next 2 weeks. The first is around definitions, a lexicon, if you like, the language that we use. And I hope that that's going to be quite a comprehensive document, and that will give everybody an opportunity to, look at and test, and perhaps then to sign off on some language, because I think that's an important building block. I think it's important that everybody kind of uses the same language, because that kind of reinforces things. So I think that that's an important initial piece of work. And I'm very fortunate to have Brian and Chuck and Jeff all kind of contributing to that. So you can imagine there's kind of plenty of energy around that. And the second sort of sub work stream, if you will, is to start to collect some case studies, some use cases, some customer journeys. Chris made a significant contribution there in terms of saying that we need to be able to acknowledge where it doesn't work, as well as where it does work, because I think that gives us great credibility if we're able to say, look, it's not a panacea, it won't work in all scenarios. Here is where it succeeds, and here are the areas where one needs to think more carefully and perhaps not charge down that route. So we are going to meet again on the 14th of this month, and I'm hoping that by the end of the month, there's a sort of significant piece of work that can be shared.
That's great.
So I think that's kind of it from me.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. That's awesome. Love the momentum you guys are getting. Hey, is Balaji here? He was going to kind of lead the maturity model work stream.
I don't see him, John.
No. Okay. No worries. And then Mary Milano, the playbook.
Yes, hello. So we had our first discussion this past Tuesday. Had really good dialogue around just understanding everyone on the team and kind of why they were so interested in the playbook workstream specifically. I think that helps us understand the perspectives everyone's coming from. And then we've created a mural board to do some collaboration on. And so I can actually open the mural board up to the entire group. So anyone else who wants to layer in thoughts, feel free. But what we really focused on at first was let's brainstorm what the core problems are that we're looking to solve via this work stream. What are the key perspectives we want to include? What are the key frameworks or contexts that we should be applying to actually solve it? And then what the key outcomes are that we're looking for. So grounding everybody in kind of what the playbook work stream looks like. So I am now synthesizing all of the feedback from the mural, and we're going to be doing weekly meetings every Thursday, in fact, prior to this call, to continue that discussion. The biggest thing that we all agree to, and this is probably what everyone's talking about, is we have to, because we can't boil the ocean, we have to align on what the persona is that we're solving for first.
Yep.
And I think really there's no right persona to start with. Some of it is like, let's just pick something and kind of build out what the playbook shell looks like, what those ingredients are. And then it's going to be a lot easier to iterate through the whole playbook development process with a different persona in mind.
That's awesome. Thanks, Mary. Really look forward to seeing that work. Really appreciate the leadership. Ashley, I know you and I exchanged some stuff on the marketing and communication work stream. It sounds like you're getting a meeting together next week.
Yep, exactly, on September 8th. But we will pull from some of the pillars that Mark and Mary have both touched upon. So looking at what success looks like in terms of building a marketing and communications plan, who is our core audience that we're talking to, what are those personas, and what case studies we can lean on, and what stories can we pull out from them that we can share in a more digestible way.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I think that's great leadership there, and look forward to seeing that stuff. And then Stephanie Fells on the development funding work stream. Any thoughts? Is Stephanie here today? No. Okay. And then we had, there were a couple that I didn't have names down for. So let's see, there's the credentialing platform work stream. That's you, Brian, right?
Yeah. We're going to start the meetings next week, and I'll come with a framework for everybody. So everyone be prepared to sign up for that work stream to take a look at your inbox.
Awesome. Yeah. And Brian and I had a really great discussion about that. We're really psyched to get going. And I think, figuring out, I think at the core of what we do is helping the demand side understand, the marketplace. And then our job as a group will be to organize the marketplace. And I think accreditation is a really, really important thing. All right. Thanks, Brian. Really appreciate the leadership there. And then business model work stream. I didn't see anybody there.
I'll take that, John. Actually, we have a sort of what we're calling Framework Zero that Eric's going to share with the group here today. I'll just sort of tee up just quickly before he goes, and then I'll hand over. As a brand builder, shaping a business model is sort of my ambition always, and because it's really fundamental, I think, not just in terms of creating value, but defining what value means, and making sure that we have kind of humanity at the core of that.
Totally.
That being said, we have a very small group, which we like. We want to keep it small because we've already made a lot of progress as a result. However, we feel underrepresented. We certainly are missing kind of a matriarchal perspectives on our group. And I think if we're going to build a business model that truly represents the community, we need to represent the community. So I just want to do a quick shout out. I know there's some groups with tons of people on. We're not looking for tons of people. We'd love to recruit a couple of folks and experts that, whether or not you're an expert in business building, there's a place in the business model structure for your voice, but specifically people that identify female. and we need that voice in the business model. It's the core of everything we're doing. So I just want to put a shout out. 1 or 2 people is all we're looking for. And you can just DM me or DM John and go from there. That being said, Eric, do you want to tee up what we're calling Framework 0, which is really actually a bit of a step back from all of the assumptions that we felt that everyone was moving forward on.
Yeah,
we're going to share that and ask for any input now or later.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. Can
Yeah,
you guys
thank you so
share
much.
screen? Eric,
yeah, let me share my screen right now.
Okay.
Now, keep in mind that the business model, of course, is the intersection of many things. So you're going to see things here that are also within other groups. And that's, I think, just inevitable, given that the business model, of course, is fundamentally the intersection of many other aspects of the company. So we'll be careful, we'll be very mindful to interface with the other work groups as needed to ensure that we are collaborating properly in that regard. These are the key questions that we found ourselves asking in the first meeting, and they all are basically, in our minds, steps along the way to determining the business model itself, which is value capture. So how the organization captures some of the value that it is creating. I would say if there's one that I would like to highlight in this brief discussion here, it would be this first one, which is what problem are we solving? Having worked with and invested in many young companies and organizations, I've always found the ability to distill the problem being solved into a very visceral and very specific concept has predicted success for an organization more than just about any other factor that I've been able to identify. So I think we all know in our hearts what problem we are all here to solve, but at the same time, we need to be able to say it in just a few sentences. And I always say to entrepreneurs, tell me a story, like don't just speak at 30,000 feet in terms of, the world has this problem or this is inefficient. Tell me a story in terms of the point of view of whose problem this is. And also make me hate this problem. Like don't tell me how bad this really is. Is this something that is what you're doing a nice to have or a need to have? And so I think it's probably not the right moment to start sourcing the way that people would like to frame that right now, but that's a key topic that we really want to make sure that we hammer home before we expand too much to the other elements of this. And so after that, what follows from that is then the purpose, in terms of solving that problem. How do we quantify success? So amidst everything happening on a monthly basis and even a weekly basis with the organized chaos of a new organization, what can we quantify that says, yeah, this was a good month. This month we created a lot of value based on the problem that we're solving. And then where do we create it? So how are we doing something better than any other alternative, basically, and for whom? And then finally, one of my favorite questions in business, what are the customers truly buying? So that is, what the most immediate transaction is often just the manifestation of a deeper transaction happening. So when someone buys a new iPhone, what are they truly buying? Things like that. And so for those that we are targeting, what are they truly looking for from us beneath the surface of the more immediate transaction that we will be facilitating? So this is our initial framework. Any initial thoughts, very welcome. And if not, then we'll keep at it. We have a weekly plan. We have a weekly call planned. And as he said, we're hoping to welcome a few more people as well going forward.
Yeah, thanks, Eric. That was really, really inspiring. I love the work you guys are doing. And I think, one of the things I would do is tap into all the work that we did in the design sprint and especially as it came out as the manifesto. There's probably some really good stuff in there that you can pull from and think about. But yeah, really good stuff, Eric. And Sam, I want to echo your point of view. I think the more diversity we have in all these work groups, the better off we'll be. We have to represent all sides of this marketplace and all the different points of view. And so if we can mimic that inside the organization, it's going to be really strong. So
yeah, for sure. And just to be clear to the group, we didn't start from reinventing. We did start from the manifesto.
Great.
We have areas that we've pulled out to feed into that. I think there are areas in the manifesto that aren't resolved, and that's kind of
I totally
our
agree.
first step.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I love the fact that, I love the fact that you always kind of start at zero and rethink things. It's totally cool to rethink what we wrote in the manifesto. And we've learned a lot in the last month and a half, right? And we've had a lot of great conversations. And I think it's always good to test it and see, where we've come, and are we, even though it's still nascent, are we still living, to the original intent, not the words in the manifesto, but the intent of what we tried to come up with. So, because the story will change, the words will change, and the more input we have, it'll grow a lot. So that's awesome. Thanks so much. Really appreciate it. We had a committee on the policy and research and influence. Anybody? I didn't see anybody take that one. Anybody? Okay. Well, I'll dig back in, and then I wanted to report back out. My apologies. I had a governance email that was supposed to go out a couple of days ago, and it didn't get out. So I don't know why it got hung out, but I wanted just to report out. So I've engaged Keith Keir from Brian Cave, who's drafted the initial documents for the 501c6, and I'll distribute those to you once we've kind of got them cleaned up and a little bit tighter. And then obviously the name, the Center for the Transformation of Work, we've got that nailed down. And then I think, the key activities that we need to really focus on are the accreditation for the platforms, and then the education, including certification, advocacy, and awareness. I want to make sure there's so many things we can try to do in this group, and I want to make sure we stay super, super focused. So, I would rather have a focus and accomplish some small things and create that kind of momentum than try to do too much in a shotgun perspective. So I've gotten a couple of calls from both Adecco and Wipro from their foundations that want to support the group or have been interested in talking about. So Keith's also drafting some on setting up a 501c3 that will be able to give us the ability to take on foundation money and things like that. So we're working on that. And then we've also talked about, and I want to get with the membership group. We've also talked about different levels of membership we're starting to work through and model out, and certainly a founding membership group that would be kind of an advisory group that would help fund the organization, and then an accreditation members that would be platforms that could go through the accreditation process and be members, and then also members from the demand side. So as we work through all that stuff and model it out, I'll be getting people from the governance or whoever wants to participate in that to figure that stuff out. So that's the update on the working groups. Anybody else have anything on the working groups?
John?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, this is my first call.
Yeah. Hey, Alan.
I really do have to thank you all for letting me sit in.
Yeah.
Very quickly, I'm an attorney. I've been doing business and intellectual property for about 40 years.
Great.
So if there's anywhere I fit, please feel free. I'm just a baby. I won't start. In fact, my cohort doesn't start at HVAC until October.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
But if I can offer some help, by all means, call me.
Okay, thanks, Alan. Yeah, we'll definitely get you involved in the governance side of things and make sure that we're on the right track. But I really, really appreciate that. So, very cool. No, I appreciate all the new energy on the calls as well. So the other thing I wanted to talk about today, and Brandon and Catherine are going to talk a little bit about it. We had, Deloitte was kind enough to sponsor the global summit that was supposed to happen in May and obviously didn't. And then we picked a date in October and, for an in-person event, and that's not going to happen, but we've decided to do a digital event. So we're working on kind of getting the right technology and getting everything together. We need all your input on kind of structure, and obviously it's going to be different than the way we set it up to be in person. But Brandon, Catherine, you guys want to take it away and just kind of describe what we're thinking about and get some feedback from the group?
You bet. Let me share my screen here if I can. How's that look?
Looks good.
All right. So like John said, we had a summit planned for May. Obviously that didn't happen, and we were holding out to maybe do something in Boulder in the fall, but we've decided for obvious reasons to go to a virtual summit. So we're gonna do this October 12th through the 14th. The idea is that we'll do like a casual 1 to 2 hour mixer on Monday the 12th, completely casual. We're harnessing, we're looking at some new technology that's gonna allow us to basically do like these Zoom breakout rooms, but but with more interaction and the ability to change up groups and go into different rooms more easily. So you'll have a chance to sort of meet new people and network and put a face to the name. And then on the 13th, we'll do like a 4-hour summit, and then we'll do the same thing on the 14th. So we're going to our idea is to break it up into 2 shorter days rather than 1 longer day. We thought that most people would be able to manage that better. So where is virtual? We're looking at some new technology. There's a company out there, I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called runtheworld.today. It's founded by some Facebook people. It's basically Zoom on steroids. They've got all this great technological capabilities to do all the stuff you would expect, like panel discussions, breakout rooms, virtual sponsorship halls, the mixer that I just described, and things like that. So we're working with them to create something that we think will be really, really amazing. And what we're going to be talking about mostly is driving this conversation, the knowledge sharing, the exchange of learning, the things that we do on these calls. And we're going to do this through a series of presentations. We'll have a keynote speech, presentations, panel discussions led by some of you, and as well as guests that you might invite to be on these panels, and then the breakout rooms. There'll be a lot of different options to tap into different things, interact, really just strategize and create things, and not just really just sit there and listen. We want people to really get involved. We might incorporate some of the technology that some of you were a part of with the mural or Miro. We've used 2 of those. I'm not sure which one we ended up using for the design sprint, but Miro, those online whiteboards, and really try to make it interactive. So the target audience for this is going to be, enterprise leaders. So demand side, those that are navigating how they're going to transform work, maybe not only for themselves, but also for the clients who are their clients who are also navigating this ever-changing business world. And the who also includes you, everybody that's on this call, all these incredibly intelligent and ambitious people. So we'll be looking for members of this group to not only lead conversations, but also just be a part of the panel discussions. So the panels, we're breaking them down into 5 sessions. We've got session 1, why transform work? Session 2, creating the right culture. Session 3 would be like a day 1 wrap up. Session 4 is creating the right organization. And session 5 is finding the right partners. Did I miss anything on that, Catherine or John? Do you recall? I think that was the 5.
Oh,
okay. And then we're open to ideas. Obviously, this is a working group, and we co-create this stuff. So if you have any ideas, please contact me. That will get to John and Catherine as well. And anybody who's interested in partnership opportunities can email me too. Following this call in the next week, we'll have an agenda ready to go. We'll start working on a speaker list. We'll have information about purchasing tickets and more partnership announcements as well.
Yeah, think about thanks, Brandon. That's awesome. Everybody should think about, like, how do we create how do we create the most participation? I love this idea of having panels. I mean, Mike Morris, I'm gonna call you out just because I think it would be, because you and I are experienced with the top coder customer council. It'd be really, really awesome for you guys to have a topic and you to talk to the customer council members. It's really inspiring. Mike and his group have put together this customer council that includes the guys from T-Mobile and the guys from Wellmark and Zurich and Eaton, and it's just a really lively discussion all the time. really amazing group of folks, of senior C-suite leaders who've already adopted, open talent technologies and really are a long way down the path of how they do that. So the discussion's always really, really inspiring. So anyway, I would love to see a bunch of those kinds of panels that run. We originally planned, Deloitte's the sponsor, and we originally planned Steve Hatfield, who leads their future of work practices, is still going to keynote the event to start with. So, we're working through kind of how we're going to put this together, and we want to make sure it's super interactive and we use the best technology. So any input would be awesome. I see some great stuff. Happy to help with the event. Thanks, Alina. Really appreciate that, and some other folks as well. So, anything we can do to make this a really great event. Obviously, it's a month and a half away, and we're going to be quick. But I think our group's been having some such great discussions, and what I want to do is just take the group discussions we've been having and really allow the rest of the world to see it and really promote it. So, anybody have any thoughts on it?
Hey, John, I could just jump in, and I think it's just to reiterate what Brandon said. So there's 3 sort of key areas where we'd love, if you have input, where we're trying to come up with panel discussions. We have our own ideas, but we'd love for folks from this group to participate and sort of bubble up any themes they think might fit or ideas for some of these panels. And the 3 topics that Brandon mentioned were creating the right culture, creating the right organization, and then finding the right partners. And so we think we're going to have like 2 panels or talks/panels within each of those topics, just to reiterate. And we can put those in the chat too.
Yeah, that's awesome. We also want to make sure that every panel has a breakout room that, people can then get it way deeper and more interactive after the panels themselves. So be able to, really access all the experts on the panels, and maybe some new folks to the group that, aren't here on a regular basis, but, really help guide the adoption process, right? So thanks, Catherine. Anybody else? Steve, Diane, do you have any thoughts on things? We've had a lot of discussions.
Sponsors you want from the gathering, John and team?
Yeah.
Happy to tap into that. A lot of the sponsors, especially to get cash going, is the gathering sponsors have been great to us over the years. So have your team reach out. I'll connect you with my team there.
Yeah, that'd be great, man.
They're looking to be involved with future work stuff, and yeah.
Yeah, so just to kind of, reference for everybody, to get everybody up to speed, I keynoted Ryan's amazing conference called the Cult Gathering that's up in Banff. It's just, I've done a lot of speaking and a lot of events, but it's definitely one of the very finest events I've ever been to. And a lot of it is just because it's all about collaboration, community, and Ryan's a super humble leader, and it's just really inviting. So, check that out. But I think we'll, certainly be able to use a lot of expertise that you have there, and appreciate it. I was thinking about, and one of the discussions we had, Catherine and Brandon and I had were around the breakout rooms. But what did you call the breakout rooms at the gathering? They were so cool.
Inner sanctums.
Inner sanctums. Yeah, they were super cool. That whole idea that somebody speaks on the main stage, and then you get into this inner sanctum, and everybody has to turn off their cell phones, and no recordings, and it's just that kind of the story behind the story, which I really, really loved. It was super fun. It was just super engaging. So anyway, really appreciate that inspiration, and thanks for thanks for volunteering to help us, get this going. And obviously, we're going to do it digitally this year, but our hope is next year to do it in person. And so this will be kind of a trial run. And, we want to create some assets that we can share beyond the conference itself, right? Some panels and some talks and things like that can create, and really support the marketing of the organization. So yeah, anybody else? Steve, Rader, Diane, Johnny?
Yeah, I think this is such a great group, and it's actually bigger than even the 3 pages of Zoom squares that we've got on today, right? Because not even everyone's on. I wonder if we can do something around kind of matching people up, like who's interested to talk to who, and try to actually.
That's a great idea.
Around either topics or people or something, because I know every time I come out of one of these meetups at the beginning, I just want to spend more time learning about each of these. And I've already seen connections between different groups and people that are starting to take hold and do some good stuff. So using the summit to kind of put that on steroids and spend some good, deeper time, I think would be great.
Yeah, that's really awesome. And I appreciate that. Good. Thanks, Steve.
John, here's an idea.
Yeah. Hey, Janice.
What you might do, because what we want to do in this seminar is prove the concept. So you might do a hands around the world by connecting people from geographies, one point to another, like a chain of light around the world. Do something that's never been done before to prove that no matter where you are, it makes no difference, but it's an advantage.
I love that. Yeah, no, I think that, in the actions of the conference itself should prove out the value of our, of the value proposition of the work we're doing. So yeah, no, certainly. I want to make sure it's global. And I think that's something we're going to, call on you guys, right? Because obviously trying to get folks, and one of the things that's been a bummer, with just the way things have worked out, these calls have been great, but then it's left out a couple of our, great colleagues in Australia, right? It's just the timing's wrong. So, and I want to make sure that they have the ability to participate in some way too. So we want to make sure that we get this. So it's a, equal opportunity conference that everybody can participate in and lean into. So any way that we can think about it. Yeah.
This is Sheila. How are you?
Hey, how are you?
Good. I am very excited about the summit, and I figured since you prompted more than once, I would jump in and offer a suggestion. And that is to use as many use cases as possible. And I would also suggest use cases of, I guess, for lack of a better word, failure of open talent to thrive. Right. Because if it was so easy, then we'd already be there. And I think, back when I wore my business development hat, I always got so much more produced and done. Rather than go in and talk about the value propositions, going in and talking about, well, why wouldn't you do something like this? And so I would caution against, creating an echo chamber among us that we're all fans. Like, I think, maybe if we could be a little disciplined and open with each other and bring our failures as use cases, so that people can identify with, oh, gee, this is a reason why it doesn't work. And I would have to say that's one of the most valuable things that I've gotten out of attending these meetings. And there have been many, many valuable things. But hearing the enterprise side difficulty that they have with engaging open talent, I literally can't hear enough about that, because it's mind-boggling, and yet I think open talent is mind-boggling to them in a lot of ways. And all having to do with the organization and the hierarchy and the incumbent structure of the full-time employee and how incredibly compelling that is.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. I love that. And I mean, one of the things I thought would be really interesting in the, as a session, a possible session would be to have Mike Tushman and Balaji kind of talk about, the next step of the case study that we're starting to write, the B case study. But likewise, maybe, I don't, Chris, have you taught the Havas case study?
The what case study, John? Sorry? The
Havas case study no, huh? It'd be great. Cause I'm certainly, I mean, if people want me to, I'm happy to fall on the sword. Cause I that case study points to an incredible failure on my part and at Havas. So I'm certainly willing to take the, to fall on that one and have somebody call me out for all the things I didn't understand and the failures I had. So whatever I can do to serve that point of view, I'm happy to do it. Cause I totally agree with you, Sheila. We learn a lot more from our failures sometimes than from our successes. Right.
John, one of the things that was really successful when we would do conferences at SIA was the workshop structure, where we would present a problem statement and people would have to collaborate to resolve the issue. That way,
yeah, that's right.
I find that it's much more effective. People are much more willing to participate when they don't have to share their own issues necessarily, if they're not necessarily comfortable doing so. So articulating business challenges and then having people solve it and then share those resolutions has actually really been one of the more successful.
Yeah, that's great. That's really great. I love that. Hey, Mike, you were going to say something too. I know, Mike Morris.
I think that you doing the Havas case would be a great tone setter for this, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's a great story and there's a lot of lessons learned. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I think that would be great.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Yeah, no, happy to do it, and we'll figure out how to do that. I mean, it'd be great to, it'd be really a great thing if I could get Kareem to come and, poke me a bit. He's really good at that. So we'll see if we can get that done. Great way to kick things off. Cool. Any other inputs?
Hi, John. Yeah, so first of all, it's great. I'm joining these conversations on and off since July.
Yeah.
So it's really great to be here. Amazing conversations, amazing insights. So I'm the founder of Expertera. We are a boutique open talent strategy group, and we provide on-demand talent while also helping companies adapt on-demand talent strategies.
Super cool.
Yeah, and since 2017, we are also running Future of Work summits as part of this. So it started as an on-demand talent strategy conversation, but now we cover future skills. We cover automation, purposeful organization among it, because we also feel it's all kind of related in a way.
Yep, I agree.
And so we have a project management office on this, a small but effective group. So we'll be happy to help. I'll contact Brandon and Catherine.
That'd be awesome, Alp. I really appreciate that. That would really be helpful. I mean, obviously people that have gone through this before and had experiences would be really helpful. I also want to make sure we get, good participation too. So we need to come up with some structure so that other folks can, invite, their compatriots inside their companies or folks that they, know customers and things like that. So we want to keep the price point really low. And so I'm trying to just figure out, obviously if we use one of these platforms, there'll be some costs. So we'll just need to figure that out. But we'll have something to discuss with you guys in the next week or so. Any other thoughts?
This is Ryan. I just wanted to say hi. This is
Ryan.
the first time I've been on this call.
Awesome.
One of our advisors had recommended this to me, and I can certainly see why. Steve, this is going to be a little bit of a repeat for you, but I just wanted to offer, if anybody's interested, I spent the last couple of years forming an internal startup at Microsoft, and we experimented with agile innovation. If you're an HBS fan, many of you are. Holacracy. We tried a bunch of different methodologies, and the output was pretty compelling. It's something that me and my co-founder want to author at some point. But I'd be happy to do a lessons learned on that. And if anybody's really interested in diving deep, it was an incredible experience to try to implement something like that at such a large, structured organization.
Yeah.
And then of course on another time I can talk a little bit more about some of the other ventures that we're doing outside of Microsoft. But I want to just say hello. I've been chatting up in the group chat a little bit, but as we're closing out here, I just wanted to put a voice to the face.
Yeah, well, thanks so much to be a part of the group. Really appreciate it. I love the way the group's growing and becoming more diverse and just super fun to see. It's just really amazing to me. It's like really, really points to the good momentum we have as the movement we're trying to create. So, all right, we've got a couple more minutes.
So is Ryan, are Ryan and Darren gonna lead the entertainment with the drums and the?
Yeah, look at that, man! Guitar and drums. We're gonna.
I've got a whole studio here, guys. What you don't see is all the outboard gear over here. That's turntables and mixer over there.
Wow. Okay, man.
Whatever we need. Anytime we need any royalty-free music, you know who to call.
That's awesome. I mean, that's, we were trying to, that's something on the agenda to try to figure out entertainment. And I think we figured it out. That's awesome.
Count me in.
Awesome. Thanks. Anybody else have anything with the last couple minutes?
John, I have a question for the collective wisdom and experience of the group.
Yeah.
Currently, I'm helping a global Fortune 500 so that they transform their workforce and utilize more on-demand talent with multiple platforms. And we are trying to, they are trying to make deconstruct jobs and roles to tasks and work streams, and then map them to work modes, including on-demand talent. So some of them call this work task planning instead of workforce planning. And we want to first start with IT and then utilize in other groups. I'm curious if anyone has done such work before or can suggest anyone that worked in this area about work task planning. If you do so, if you contact me on LinkedIn or somewhere, I would really appreciate it.
Yeah, Alp, I'll make sure that we share your email to everybody in the next newsletter on that prompt. So no, I appreciate that for sure. I think that's super cool. I've been talking a lot about that in a lot of the meetings I've been having, is this shift. And that's why I really thought that it was important to call this the transformation of work, right? Because to me, the big opportunity is to help demand side organizations really shift the way they think about work and not think about like, here's a problem. I need a person in the context of my career. I need a creative director for 3 months. It's like, here's a problem. How do we taskify that? Here are the 40 tasks that need to get done. What's the best talent, or what's the best, AI or machine learning that needs to happen to get those tasks done? And how can we hire the very best people in the world to do that? I think that's a big, kind of one of the big unlocks for everybody in the group. So really appreciate that, and definitely want you to share this kind of taskification. I like this idea. What did you say? Workforce versus work task? Is that?
Work task planning. So
work task planning. I like that a lot. It's really, really cool. So thanks for sharing that. No, really great stuff. Yeah.
John, this is Tom.
Hey, Tom, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'll follow up with you, Al. But, we had to develop our own software to do the work task planning, to architect both the onboarding of people and the workflow of work and marrying those two. We decided to break it off into a new piece of software we call Ramped. We're taking on some early beta clients right now. I'll follow up with you on LinkedIn. But we call it Gig Ops, and it's the marriage of those two things that you just described. So, and we're offering it up for people to tinker with and play with in the months ahead at no cost. So if others want to get to know more about it, just reach out, Tom O'Malley.
Yeah, that sounds great. Tom, throw your email in the chat. So everybody's got it. Okay, guys, well, that's awesome, man. I love this group. It's always awesome. Great progress. Congrats, really great work by the work groups. Amazing stuff. Thanks so much. Really appreciate it. And if you're not on a work group and you want to get involved with one, jump in. Oh, the one thing I want to add is that I've been doing a bunch of podcasts with folks, and they're getting live. So there are a bunch of like 5 or 6 that are live. I mean, obviously early days. I'm not the super pro like Paul Estes. I love what Paul's doing and how he's running things. So we're kind of, hacking away. But the goal of these podcasts is really to help the demand side understand what platforms are doing and how they're working, and talking to CEOs of platforms and other influential folks in the marketplace. So Brandon will share that link, and I'll make sure I share it in the email. But any criticism, any things we can do to improve, we started kind of in beta MVP, and we're just kind of moving along and trying to improve. So anyway, love you guys, and look forward to next week. Shoot me a note if there's anything I can be doing for anybody. Talk soon. All the best.
Great meeting. Thanks.
Hey, make sure you guys pick your name for the Transformer. I want to see some Transformer names next week. That's what we're going to kick the meeting off, is like, what name did you pick as a Transformer?
Nice.
Awesome. Ciao.